We are live. We are live.
We're live.
I'll give a quick little intro to everybody. This is the Authentic You podcast, episode 3, with my good friend here, Charlie Bruno. Charlie and I have known each other for many, many years, and Charlie actually helped me with my weight loss journey. He helped me lose over 150 pounds. Obviously, I had to do the hard work, but he taught me the lessons when it comes down to dieting and programming. And Charlie, I want you to introduce yourself, tell people where they can find you.
Charlie Bruno. I'm a life coach, and I've been doing this for the past 9 years because I juiced 9. Can you believe it? January 15th was 9 years.
It's crazy.
Since I did this. Time just kind of goes very quickly, and we'll touch on that later. You can find me at Instagram at juicingstrong, Facebook juicingstrong, TikTok juicingstrong. A little redundant, huh? And that's how you can find me.
Okay. Well, life coach, I definitely think is probably the best way to describe you, because I've known you since early 2016. That's about the time that we met.
Yep.
And I mean, not only did we immediately become friends, but again, life coach. I mean, I don't know that there's another person that I could call if I need advice. And, you know, I want to say friendly advice, fatherly advice, overall life advice. And I mean, we were almost crying in the parking lot a few minutes ago. So I really appreciate you. I love you. And for anybody that, you know, really is looking for somebody who's got so much energy, I mean, Charlie is the guy. 60 years old, almost.
Get off. 6 months.
6 months. But I actually want to tell people a little bit about like our story and how we met. And then I want to dive into your story and your weight loss overall.
Okay.
So I met Charlie in the gym, of course, but what was impressive about Charlie was I literally watched him. He was, how heavy were you, Charlie?
My peak, I was 412.
So 412 pounds.
Not kilograms.
Yeah. And I just watched you over the course of like, it had to have been 3-4 months. Just all of a sudden you're just like, you just lost all this weight. And I made an assumption about you because I didn't know you, but I made an assumption that you had weight loss surgery.
Right.
And at that time I found out that, okay, I'm pre-diabetic. I have to be on cholesterol pills. I was about 400 pounds. And so I'm looking at you going, okay, this guy just lost like 60 pounds, 70 pounds, like this.
Like instantly.
And funny enough, I didn't have the courage to talk to you in the gym, but I ran into you at Denny's of all places.
Right.
And literally in the restroom. And it was one of those like moments that I can always tell people, I'm like, you only get these random moments very, very few times in your life, but it was just such a random moment where we're in the same place, same city. I had been wanting to talk to you. We're in the bathroom and I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity. And I was just like, hey, my name's Joe. I've seen you at LA Fitness.
I knew you.
Yep. I was like, you've lost all this weight. Did you have weight loss surgery? And then you said, absolutely not. Right. And you went on to tell me this like very enthusiastic story about your journey.
Yes.
And then we'll come back to this. So, but you know, eventually Charlie did help me lose 150 pounds. And so I'm very thankful for that because my life has changed significantly. But why don't we jump into like before that? So what happened with you? How did you get to that point to where you needed to start your weight loss journey? And how did you go from that to then being a life coach?
Well, I always tell people that everything starts in small doses. And you said something really important, that we met and you were like, what's he doing here at Denny's in the bathroom?
Yep.
And that's the universe conspiring for you. That's what you put it out there. So it brings, have you ever had that happen where, boom, all of a sudden you think
about
this
someone
and it brings you what you want. And then a lot of people do this when that happens. They push it away.
Yeah.
Like, you asked for it. Now what are you doing? You're pushing it away. But my journey started in 2013.
Okay.
Back. Okay. And it's really tied to the fact that prior to 2002, my dad passed away. Right. And that's when I really just started to eat more and go off the rails. And we talked about this in the last thing. I used to be a cutter. And I know a lot of people out there struggle with pain. And that was my way of dealing with that pain. And I went into therapy, got rid of that coping mechanism. And then I doubled down on my other coping mechanism, which was food. So I became bigger and bigger and bigger, and I became pre-diabetic. And, you know, I was dying, high blood pressure. You just pick a disease. I was heading down that road. Reality, I was at a baseball game, a little league baseball game with my buddy Aaron, and we were sitting there just talking. And I was working out maybe 2 days a week at that point in 2012. And we started talking about racquetball or something. I said, yeah, I'd like to play racquetball with you. That'd be cool. Maybe we could work out together. He's like, yeah, maybe. What are you thinking? I'm thinking 5 a.m. And he said, well, let me think about it. And he called me a few days later and said, yeah, why don't we go on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? I go, okay, cool. Let's go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, this was the key moment where I started on the road back to my life, okay? And we started going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, my other friend, Greg, heard about us working out. He said, hey, listen, I hear you're working out with Aaron. What days you work out with him? Monday, Wednesday, Friday? How about we go Tuesdays and Thursdays? Mm-hmm. I go, I just booked 5 days a week because I knew at that moment in time, and I don't know if you've experienced this, that I wasn't going to commit to getting up at 5 a.m. for nobody.
Yeah.
But if I did it for you or I did it for my friends, guess what? I'd show up.
Yeah.
So I got 5 days booked. And then that started to really go. And I want to say it was March 23rd, 2014 was the day of the streak. That's when it started. I was 16 days deep, hadn't missed a workout. And I was like, I wonder if I can keep going for the rest of the year. Then it was 56 days. Then it was 100 days. Then it was the end of the year. And as we ended the end of the year, I got to digress just a minute. Mm-hmm. You ever hear of Mel Robbins? I think you have. Okay, so Mel Robbins is an amazing human being. If you get a chance, go to her YouTube. Incredible person. And she has a TED Talk that talks about if you want to get your life back, you can get your life back. This is prior to the streak. This is prior to juicing. And she said in her TED Talk, if you ever want to talk to me, reach out to me. And I was like, yeah, okay, right. But as embarrassed as I was in my mind to email her, I pushed through that and emailed her and said, hey, you don't know me, but I just watched your TED Talk. Most amazing TED Talk I've ever seen. I just want you to know, I think you've helped me to figure out a way to change my life. And if I can ever help you in any way, please reach out. All right, so I send the email. And I was embarrassed to send it. I don't know if you've ever.
Oh, yeah.
It's just embarrassing.
Well, just to reach out to somebody that you don't necessarily know.
I don't know her. So guess who emails me 2 hours later?
Mel Robbins.
She says, hey, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But why don't we talk on February 27th at 2 o'clock? And all I could respond was Eastern time, Pacific time, Standard time, what?
Yeah.
She said Pacific time. And we had this amazing, engaging conversation. And she said, I said, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know how to get there. She goes, just start. Just start. Take a step. It's almost like an infant learning how to walk, right?
Yeah.
Take a step. Just move forward. I was like, okay. And my philosophy has always been, since my youngest daughter was born, the secret to life is love, period. What do you take with you when you die? Nothing, right? So the secret to life is love. So I said, let's just start loving ourselves and let's start pushing through and keep this, start working out, getting it back, and everything started to fall into place slowly. And then on January 14th, 2015, and I'll digress I'm going to digress a lot probably because I'm senile. Digress to the 12th. I'm at the gym and I'm on an elliptical machine, all 400 pounds of me. And I'm looking for something to watch on Netflix. And I find this documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And I start to watch the second movie, not the first movie. And I'm about 30 minutes in and I'm like, this is trash. This guy's a liar. He's not juicing's stupid. And I'm conjuring all these negative thoughts because I don't really have a problem. I'm just 400 pounds. Because when you're 400 pounds, and I think you've experienced this, if you haven't, tell me, when you're that big, you don't think you're that big.
No.
Right. And so I ended up watching an episode of The Twilight Zone instead. Right. And 3 days later, I walk in on the 15th of January. No, 14th of January, 2 days later. And I said to my wife, I had my groceries, Chip Ahoy's, peach diet Snapple iced tea.
The good stuff.
Yeah, this is my preemptive dinner, before dinner. And I said to my wife and my youngest daughter, Emma, you mind if I put a documentary on I started to watch the second one. I want to see if the first one has any validity.
Yeah.
And so I started to watch it. And literally in my mind, I'm watching this, and the guy's jumping in the pool, and he's fat. And his name is Joe Cross, and he's an amazing human being. Look him up. And I'm like, this is nothing. This is stupid. I don't have a problem. Although I'm sitting there with a pillow over my belly to hide it. And my youngest son, Anthony, comes down. This is the critical moment. He comes down and he starts to watch it. Now, Anthony, out of all my kids, was the only one that was a little chubby, right? And we never said anything to him about it because I don't think that's the right thing to do anyway, because they'll figure it out. And we're watching it. I'm eating my Chip Ahoys, drinking my Snapple.
Watching a health documentary.
Yeah, right. And I got no problem because I work out every day, right? And my son pauses the documentary and says, "Dad, can I ask you a question?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Could you do what the guy in the documentary is doing?" And I'm like, I'm stunned. And this all happens in a millisecond. I'm stunned and not understanding why he's asking. And I say, "Well, of course I could do it. I've worked out 297 days in a row, Anthony."
Yeah.
And he pauses, takes a breath, looks at me and says, "Would you do it?" And in that moment, I felt his pain. He must be putting up with crap at school. Something must be going on for him to ask me that question. And I looked right at my wife. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Looked right at my wife and I said, "Am I as fucking fat as that guy on the TV?" And she went, "I don't know." And I go, No. I don't want to hear I don't know. This is like if I had spinach on my tooth or I had BO. I want to know, am I as big as that guy on the TV? And all she could muster was, "Well, you're pretty big."
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if you know how devastating that feels just to even hear those words.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I felt like I got punched in the head because then I woke up. I literally had Plato's, we talked about this earlier, Plato's allegory of the cave. I woke up. I was like, oh my God.
I'm fat.
I'm an obese cow, okay? And so I jump ahead to the next morning. Emma and I are driving to Temescal Canyon High School. She's 17, and we're halfway there. And she says, "So what are you going to do?" Because she knew.
Yeah.
I said, what choice do I have? Anthony asked me. I got to do it. And she said, "Okay, good. Can we go to Juice It Up?" And I'm like,
Nice.
Okay. So we pull into Juice It Up, and she orders me kale, spinach, green apple, and ginger.
Yeah.
And she goes, "We're driving to the school." And she goes, "What do you think?"
That's it. That's a detoxifier.
I go, "I'm going to kill myself because this is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted because I had never had a juice before."
Yeah.
And I dropped her off and I went to the gym and I did something in the gym that morning when I walked in that I hadn't done in 10 years. You know what it was?
No.
I weighed myself. Now,
Okay.
when you're morbidly obese, you don't think you weigh 400 pounds. You think you're 270 or 260, right? Or 280.
Yeah.
I got on that scale. I started moving the little thing and it's not going very far. It's leveling off. And I'm like, get off, get on. I'm starting to sweat. Nobody can see me, but it's embarrassing internally. And I'm like, I'm 400. I was 383. I was 383 at that time.
Yeah.
412 was my peak. And I was like, 383 pounds. What the hell have I done to myself? And I went up and got on an elliptical machine. And I thought, 60 days of this crap? Because I had the juice.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know how I'll survive 60 days. And I thought, well, how am I going to I'm committed to Anthony, but how can I further this commitment? I don't know why I was so awake consciously. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get on Facebook. And up to that point, if you were following me on Facebook, I was posting all my workout days with no responses because obviously nobody thought a guy that's that big is working out every day, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, listen, workout day 98. It was workout day 298. And I said, I'm morbidly obese. Something to this effect. I'm morbidly obese. Wish me luck. I'm going to do a juice reboot for 60 days. Oh my God. All of a sudden, everybody's responding to me.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You can do it. Stick with it. You got it, Bruno. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay. So they didn't believe I was working out, but they're excited for my
Juice cleanse.
Right. And so I started. Now, guess how many pounds I lost in the first 14 days?
Probably 30 pounds.
34 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was so far away from my normal weight line. I can't remember the word for it. It's a
metabolic.
Your
metabolic
set point.
Yeah.
Your set point. I was so far away. Of course, I'm going to lose a lot of weight right away. Dropped 34 pounds. I was like, and I wasn't happy. I was like looking in the mirror going, 34 pounds.
Yeah, you don't even see it really.
383. You're still, And I was like, okay, well, let's just keep going. And every day I was miserable for 60, 70 days, or actually 58 days in, I was 302. So I went from 383 to 302. Now you think you'd be happy, right?
Yeah.
I kept seeing my reflection as I'd leave the gym in my car window and go, that's not what I want to see. I don't want to see that guy. He annoys me. And so I thought, what do I do? I was only committed to 60 days.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to my goal of 240. And that's really disappointing. So should I quit? Well, I really want Costco pizza. My brain says, ooh, Costco pizza.
The reward for hitting 60.
Right, because what does everybody do when they lose a massive amount of weight?
Yeah, they go celebrate. Yep.
I did want to do that, but I knew that was the wrong answer. So I said, all right, let's just keep pushing through, and we'll do another 50 days if we have to get to the goal. Because I knew my weight loss was slowing down as I was getting closer to where I was supposed to be. So I said, this is going to take a little bit longer. And that's really where the miracle happened for me, because up to that point, like I said a minute ago, my thought was when I'm done, I get my Costco pizza back. I'm not trying to plug you, Costco, seriously. But I get my Costco pizza back. And then I thought, okay, well, we can wait. We'll have Costco pizza later. And I'm on I want to say it was day 127 or something like that. I don't know why I know clearly when it was. And I walked into Starbucks to get my wife a tea, like I always do. Right, honey? Mm-hmm. And I love doing that. Like, aside. Get my aside.
Yeah.
And I was standing there at the cash register, and I realized in that moment, like I said, this has been a lot of a conscious awareness. What do you normally look at when you walk in there first?
Oh, you see the food court and the samples and
boom, the donuts and the scones and the cookies and the cake pops and all the crap. And I was standing at the cash register, and I went, I didn't notice that when I walked in. Why? What's going on? And I went and stood in front of it, and I was like looking at them, and I was like waiting for salivation.
Yeah.
Like
it's gone.
Nothing. I'm like, okay, go to the car, put the tea in the car, go into Vaughn's because it's right next door to the Starbucks. And I start walking up and down all the aisles. Nothing. I'm not getting deli, nothing, candy, nothing, bread, nothing.
It's like realizing you have a superpower all of a sudden.
Right. I get to produce. Guess what happens? I start salivating. I'm like, okay, all these gurus, all these jackasses out there saying 21 days, you can change your life. 6 weeks, you can change your life. Bullshit.
No,
if it's taken 40 years of behavior, it's going to take not necessarily 40 years, but it's going to take a long time to switch that gear. Okay. And I was like, okay, now I was excited. I was like, I'm not thinking the same way anymore. I don't want Costco pizza. I don't want these things. Behavior has changed. Let's ride it out. And, that's when I'm going a long time here. I apologize. But that's when I was at a Little League practice, and Aaron said, Joe Cross is going to be in San Diego at a book signing. You should go see him. And I'm like, go for what? Go say hi. Tell him what you did. I'm go, what for? Yeah. I'm not interested in, I don't like meeting famous people because a lot of times they turn out to be jackasses, and I don't want to know they're jackasses. But my wife's like, you should go. We'll run the practice. Don't worry about it. I'm like, fine, I'll go. I even got there late just to make sure I'd miss him. He was still there talking because he can talk. Right, Joe? And at the end of the day, he signed my book. He saw my picture. He lost his mind. His assistant, Kristen, lost her mind. And it just made me want to push more and go more. Because I was still, like I said, I was 298 or 297 at that time.
Yeah.
How do I keep going? How do I keep growing? How do I keep pushing? And it's just a domino effect. Once you get past the unconscious behaviors and you become conscious, it's a domino effect. Everything starts to happen. But what people don't understand, and this is what drives me insane, is it's got to start small. Really itty-bitty small. You're not going to lose 100 pounds in 2 weeks. You're not going to go and do, I did, you plank, right? You do core?
Yep.
I did 100 1-minute planks on Super Bowl Sunday last year.
I remember that.
With a 50-second rest in between most of them. Some of them turned into 2-minute rests because I was dying. But I did 101-minute planks. There's no possible way in 2015 I could have done one 1-minute plank.
Yeah.
So get over it. Remember when you showed me that core exercise?
Abs.
This
Yeah.
guy says he's at the gym and he says, "Hey, you got to try this." And I was like, "What?" And he shows me, and I'm like, totally embarrassed, totally embarrassed. My brain's like, this is going to be embarrassing. And you don't do it. Here, sit down. And I was like,
Yeah.
so I
Let's go
start
through
doing it, and I'm like, it was so hard. I was like, what is going on with this thing?
it.
But now every time, literally every time I do those, who do I think about?
Yeah.
You.
It's a connection.
And you know what that did for me, Joe? It made me realize you got to get embarrassed to get better. You got to feel uncomfortable to grow. And that's this whole process has been that. So I guess, and that's, I ended up back in school. I'm working on my psychology degree. Yeah, I'm going to be 60. Who cares? I'm alive.
Yeah.
That's the key.
I think and that was like a huge introduction, I think, for people who probably observed all of that. What's amazing is like you went through such a almost like a traumatic transformation in like a 60-day period of time that then you extended it and you got excited about change.
Mhm.
And the thing is that so many people, and I think this is why you also became a life coach, so many people get so caught up in what they have going on today that they're so afraid to just make a change. But once you achieve that first big domino, right? You get that boulder up the hill, all of a sudden you look around and there's all these other things in your life that you're like, "Oh my God, like I should be adjusting that. I should go ahead and try different workouts. I should be open to
Yeah.
going back to school and learning a new craft and expanding, whatever you want to work on for yourself."
Right.
Everyone gets too comfortable with their lives. And I think that's the one thing about weight loss or a physical transformation is because it can be observed by a lot of other people.
Right.
So people will usually notice when you start to change mentally, but usually they notice physical change first,
Yeah,
right?
it's funny you say that, and some of those people won't be in your life anymore.
Yeah.
They'll want to not be around you because they don't want to face their what's the word I want? What's the word I want? They want to face their
Their
stuff they're
inner
not
demon.
growing
Yeah.
in. They're not progressing along, and they don't want to face that. They want to just stay there. I was talking to one of my clients this morning, Tina, and her daughter's in the hospital, and hopefully everything will be okay, but it's not looking good because she's dying from alcoholism. And the next 3 days are really critical. And Tina said, I feel like she tried to commit suicide. I go, well, that's kind of an epiphany moment, right? Because everybody's trying to commit suicide. Then what do you mean? I go, if you're smoking, you're trying to commit suicide. The box is really clear on a box of cigarettes.
Yeah,
What
what
does it
happens?
say? You are going to die. Hello, right? So that means anything that's not beneficial for our biology or our mental health is a form of killing ourselves, right? I don't want to be a downer, but if you're eating 70 pizzas a day,
Yeah.
that's not going to turn out good, right?
Yeah. And this is, I think, the beauty of being like a life coach, and or as you start to like meet different people, we all have these like comfort niches that we fall into that are really bad habits for us. I think everyone's an addict in some type of way. They just don't really know what they're addicted to. It could be their phone, it could be, physical or emotional, it could be like, again, food.
Yeah.
We're all addicts. It's just you got to try to find the ones that are a little bit more healthy and helpful for you.
Well, yeah, it's funny, like a lot of funny moments, but I was saying that this morning to Cliff, another gentleman I talked to. He's a good friend, dear friend. And working out could become a detriment. It could hurt you, right? Like my right knee's bugging me right now. So what, should I go run stairs? No,
Yeah.
change it up, do something different. Doesn't mean I have to miss my workout, right? Because I've not missed a workout in 3,589 days today. I'm a little obsessed, right? But it doesn't have to be the same every day. I don't do 3,000 sit-ups every day. I do it every 4 days a week. That's part of the routine.
Yeah.
Core 12 minutes a day, 4 days a week, and then one core day for an hour.
Yep.
Your workouts are similar. You don't
Yeah.
go and do chest every day,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
What do you do every day?
Yeah. Change it up. But
Yeah.
it is funny because people will like, I do consistently work out probably 3 hours, 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I think like that to some people is like, that's an unhealthy addiction. Right. but it's how you frame it, and it's
Yeah.
how and it's something that definitely helps me cope with other things that I'm going through in my life. And
Yeah.
it's not like I go there for 4 hours straight, right?
Right.
I break it up and do different things. But yeah, everyone has some type of mechanism that they use to
Yeah.
cope with other things. Sometimes it just is what it is. And hopefully even the healthier habits can be pretty challenging.
What's part of human behavior? We need coping mechanisms to get through the daily stress. There is daily stress.
Yeah.
And if you're drinking alcohol and that's your coping mechanism, of course that's what you're going to do. Does that make you a bad person? No, it just means that's your behavior. Think about it. It's a behavior. A behavior is changeable. We're animals. It's real simple. We're animals and we're easily conditioned to do certain things.
Yeah.
And if we don't take and look at it from a higher perspective and say, hey, wait a minute. And then who's the most important person to you in the whole world?
Yeah, myself.
Yeah, it's got to be. If you're not the most important person to you, nobody gets the best of you. Nobody gets what you want to give them because you're punishing yourself. You're not showing up every day. You're not making it happen. I always tell people, just show up. People say to me, I'll be in the grocery store. How you doing today? Amazing, fantastic, perfect.
I remember talking about that one.
Well, these are my go-tos, and I learned it in high school from my high school coach. Say fantastic every time, even if you're not fantastic, because it does two things. It enlightens that person you're saying it to, but guess who else it enlightens?
Yeah, yourself.
Yeah, if you're in a bad mood and you walk in and somebody says, hey, how you doing? I'm fantastic. Your brain's like, wait a minute. We're not in a bad mood. He just said we're fantastic. This is confusing, but we're going with fantastic because that's much more fun than crappy. And I wish that a car would hit me. Right.
Yeah. My friend posted it was a Bruce Lee quote, and he basically said exactly that, where he's like, never talk bad about yourself because your body doesn't know the difference.
That's right.
And so it'll start to believe whatever you say, so if you're like, someone's like, you having a good day? And you're like, not really. And then you just, all of a sudden you decide to go down that little tornado and like just keep kind of spiraling down. Whereas if you're like, I'm not having a good day, but it could be a good day today. I can make it a good day. You now just change the whole paradigm of how you're going to feel and like, well, how can I make it a good day? And then you start kind of going down that as well.
Right.
Like you figure out a way to do it. I do want to clarify for some people, because you spit out some like pretty crazy facts here. You are very close to hitting 10 years straight working out every day.
Every single day. March 23rd will be 10 years. Pete, $10,000.
Yeah.
Bet me $10,000. He's not going to pay me because he said I can't prove it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But it'll be 10 years, March 23rd, that I haven't missed a workout, not one single day, not for the flu, not for COVID, not for knee injury, not for shoulder pain, not for depression, not for family issues. There's no reason.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason. You brush your teeth every day.
Yep.
Why can't you get a little workout in every day?
Yep.
And small steps. Okay, I don't want you to do 10 years. I tell people, I don't expect you to do I'm psychotic. I'm doing 10 years in a row, right? But that signifies something. You know what it signifies? That I'm the most important person to me every single day.
Yeah.
Right? And it feeds back. So all my kids work out, every one of them. Anthony was only 11 when I started this streak, 11 and a half or so. He works out at least 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Charlie, same thing. Emma, same thing. Audrey, same thing. My wife's working out every day. I think she's worked out for a year straight now. Nice. Right? Well, we're the guardians of our kids and our families and our friends and the people we work with, right? Mm-hmm. And even the people that watch us from the outside. Like if you're watching this, you've never seen me before. I'm a guardian for you. I want to protect you and give you your best life. That's my objective, okay? And real quick, anybody that needs my help, it's free. You call me, I'll help you. You know what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, if we can set that standard and that standard bearer for people to live a better life, how many people are we going to help have a better, longer, healthier life? And let's forget it. Let's say, well, you get hit by a car. I can't believe you gave up your steak.
Yeah.
I understand. But what was my quality of life compared to your quality of life?
Yeah.
I'll be 60 and I can do 101 1-minute planks.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I here's the thing. I think people like get tripped out by like that 10 years because it's very rare that somebody says that. But like I will say, I know at this point, I mean, I'm not tracking it. I have no way to prove it, nothing like that. But I mean, I cannot not work out to some degree. So now some days that could be like I'm on vacation. I wake up, I wake up before most people, so I wake up super early, and then I'm like,
Right.
I just want to go for a walk. So I'll just go for like a 45-minute walk,
Yeah.
or or a 30-minute walk. And you know what that ends up being? A 30, 45-minute walk, it is about 3 miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
most people don't even walk 3 miles in a day. So it's like
Mhm.
I've kind of just made that commitment to myself to where I'm like,
Right.
at the minimum, if I'm on vacation or I'm traveling for work or I'm just not feeling up physically for whatever reason, I'm
Yeah.
sick when I got COVID, stuff like that. It's there's nothing wrong with getting up and just going for just a gentle walk,
Right. Nothing
and
whatsoever.
that is a workout,
Yeah.
Um, the other things you said, I think what's cool is like through your process through the last 10 years, right?
Mhm.
You had your weight loss, and then you realized, "Oh, I've lost all this weight. I need to start muscle training and doing things." So you focused a lot on core, which was crazy. And like I will tell you guys, Charlie's still a big man, like a good sized
Yeah.
man. He will outlift a lot of guys. He will outcore and endure a lot of guys. And you've got like that David Goggins like energy. And I
Yes.
know like it's funny because like you said, I'm psychotic with stuff. It's like the reality is it's just you're mentally strong. You're
Right.
very mentally strong. So when you make a commitment to do something, you're gonna do it.
No matter what.
And I've respected a lot of our
Thank you.
friendship because of that, even to the point where like you'll randomly, like you're like, you know what day it is? I'm like, what? And you're like, you're fucking fantastic day.
Yeah.
You're an amazing human being. Like that's the phone call I get from this guy pretty much every week. So,
Well, it's
um,
easy because you are.
I appreciate it,
You really
Charlie.
are. No, I mean, at the end of the day, what are we here for? What are we showing up for?
Yep.
Okay, money, yeah, okay, we got to make money. I get it. We got to pay the bills. But that is so trivial, and it's going to come and it's going to go and it's going to be here. What's the most important thing, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to be 60. I was just 38 a second ago. I say 38 because that's when my dad died. 22 years has gone by in the blink of an eye. So why are we wasting? I guess the question is for everybody that's listening or watching is why are you wasting 1 minute? Do you know how many people die on this planet every day? You can Google it. 150,000 people a day. So if you woke up this morning, you're a lucky son of a bitch. And then 300,000 people are born every day. All right, these numbers you can Google it, so it's legit. But why waste a minute of this? It's so amazing getting to be here. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think people get very comfortable with thinking that tomorrow is coming. And
Mm-mm.
honestly, like I think especially this year it has hit me a lot more. Last year, the tail end of last year into this year, I really realized that I actually I got to a point like I think at the end of last year where I started to have like a little bit of breakdowns, like really getting scared, like, oh my God, like I could die tomorrow. And I know that's weird to say, like, or think, but I
It's
think it puts
true.
me, it is true. And it puts me in a very different mentality. And not a lot of people do that. And I think it's why I'm making very abrupt and sudden changes in my life is because I'm like,
Right.
I don't want to sit around and wonder. I want to know. I want to
Yeah.
know that I'm doing everything and anything that's going to make me happy. And I'm going to utilize whatever time I have left. And that could be 6 hours. That could be 6 days. That could be 60 more years. I don't
That's right.
know. I could live to be 95.
Yeah.
Who fucking knows? But what
Well,
I don't know is when that date is ultimately going to be. And I really used to mess with myself and think I had a lot more time than I do. And so I started like, I think it's a big reason also why like this podcast exists now.
right.
Is I'm kind of afraid of passing without accomplishing certain things. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I'm gonna anything and everything that I can do right now,
Right.
I'm done wasting time.
That's why he's amazing.
No more wasting time, you fucks.
Right.
We got to get going, you
No,
know?
and listen, that doesn't mean you don't have your timeless activities. You sit there, play video
Yeah.
games, whatever. You watch Reacher.
Mhm.
Um, at the end of the day, just make sure you're getting the stuff done that you want to get done in your
Yeah.
life. Show up. You know, my son said, I said, how come you're not going to the gym? Because we got a gym at home. He goes, because I'm not going to the gym until after the 20th of January. Because every jackass on the planet shows up, and you show up. And I don't mean you're all jackasses. I just see you show up, and then you expect to get in there and do these things that are not reasonable.
Yeah.
Make it what I teach people when I train them is we're going to make this reasonable. And a lot of the times, more of the men than the women, when I take them through a workout, they go, "That's it?" And I go, "What do you mean?" I bait the water. They're like, "Well, I could do a lot more. I should have done this and this. All right, let's go over here. Let's do this, do this." And then they turn pale
Yeah.
and they start breathing weird. And I go, "Okay, you going to stick with the plan, what I'm putting together, or you want to do it your way?"
Yep.
Because what you're trying to do when you do that is you're trying to get out of it subconsciously. You're trying to get out of coming to the gym. That's why you go on the 2nd of January, work your ass off so hard that you can't walk the next day. So you can go, "I don't want to go back to do
Too
that.
sore.
Yeah, I'm too sore." Well, of course you're too sore. You did something that you thought you could do from when you were 17.
Yeah.
You're not 17 anymore. Knock it off.
Yeah. The people who are the most consistent in anything that they are trying to achieve are always the ones who ultimately win. You know, it's the
Yeah.
old story of like, you know, the tortoise and the rabbit.
Yep.
Like it's slow and steady definitely wins the
Little
race.
itty bitty steps.
Yeah.
That's the key.
It works. And even with these like long goals that people have, like where they're long term, where they're like, I want to achieve this, and it's like a 10-year thing,
Right.
then that's fine. Because you know it's going to take you that long. But you need to break it down into like 4 or 5 kind of segments.
Achievable goals. Yeah.
Because those in themselves are actually going to be big milestones. You know,
Right.
to go from here to there is already going to be a stretch. So like it'll seem so far away if you're ultimately only focused on that end 10-year goal. Like you
Right.
have to be like, okay, that is the goal, but in order to get there, I have to reverse engineer this. In order to get there, I have to get here. In order to get there, I have to get here. In order to get there, I have to get here. And I think a lot of people waste too much time thinking about that end, the end goal.
Mhm.
They're like, this is where I want to get. And they miss the whole process, the
Just
whole
stay in the
journey, the
present.
consistent,
Yeah.
being present in it makes them happy, enjoy the process. It also makes them realize that they're moving forward.
Right.
But you don't feel like you're moving forward. It's like you just said, like staring in the mirror, you had lost 80 pounds, but you weren't happy with it.
Right.
But it was because every day you were seeing yourself in the mirror. So you just really weren't. But when you look back and you see that one picture to the next picture, like
Right.
at the end of the day, it's very easy to get too caught up in how long something's going to take you. And so everyone's always looking for a way out, an excuse. And honestly, it's hard. It's very, very tough to achieve anything in this
Yes.
world. That's why there's so many average people. The reality is there's so many average people because those people are like, you know what? I'm just going to stay here. And they don't want to put in that little bit of extra. But if they did put in that little extra every day, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, they'd be extraordinarily different.
You know what the pat answer for a lot of people is? I'll say, "So why don't you? Why don't you lose weight? Why don't you work out? Why don't you do something?"
Yeah.
What do you think the pat answer is? "I'm lazy." And then I go, "Okay," because that's a loaded question for me. I asked that question because I want them to say it. I say, "So you're lazy. So let me ask you a couple more questions. Do you wash your clothes?" "Uh-huh." "Do you brush your teeth?" "Sure." "Do you take a shower?" "Yeah." "Do you keep your car clean?" "Mostly." "Okay." "How about the house?" "Yeah." "You take care of your kids?" "Yeah." "Your pets?" "Yeah." "Show up for work every day?" "Sure." "How are you lazy?"
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. How are you freaking lazy?
Yeah.
That's just a bunch of crap. And once
Yeah.
again, how do I trick myself from not getting to do what I need to do better?
Yep.
Right. At the end of the day, what do you want? Do you want to be sick? Do you want to be unhealthy? Do you want to be miserable? Obviously you don't, because what do people say? "I hate my life. My life is terrible. Life is hard. Life is this." Knock it off. I always say knock it off a lot, but just knock it off. Start slow. Nothing that happened before matters, really.
Yeah.
Except learning, right? So all the crap that you went through, I was a cutter. I'm not a cutter anymore. I mean, I used to hurt myself really bad. I don't do that anymore. I was an alcoholic. Okay, cool. You're not anymore? No. As of today, I'm not anymore. Good. Let's move forward from there.
Yep.
Let's take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we've all been through shit.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
I struggle with that sometimes. Sometimes, and I brought this up on one of the podcasts that I think it was either somebody was interviewing me or whatever it was, but actually that is, sometimes it can be utilized as a strength if you do it the right way, but I'll struggle with that sometimes where I'll be like, oh, I'm going to put myself back in that mentality of that, like whatever it was, the drug addict or the fat boy or, whatever it is. And sometimes I'll put myself back in that mentality and be like, am I this? And because I like the grind. I hate when people are like, dude, you're so amazing. Like, I don't really like the recognition. I like the struggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But going back to just people in general and kind of like playing this out, I kind of want to say this. So I have a 3-tier system that I tell my team that I work with, or people, like when I meet them, if they are giving me those bullshit excuses of they're lazy or they're this or that, I'm like, I think success comes down to 3 things, 3 pillars.
Okay.
The first pillar is preparation.
Okay.
The second is routines.
Yep.
And the third is follow through. And preparation is the easy one. A lot of people will say, I'm going to start my weight loss journey. I'm going to go to school for this, or this, right? Routine is the one that fucks pretty much everybody. Routines are the ones that make it the hardest because you have to consistently do them. But to your point, you brush your teeth every day. You go to work every day. You know what I mean? Like your mom answers, you call her back. Like, right? So it's the routine. Like they can put together a plan. Sometimes people will fail in preparation. Like they'll overcommit. They'll make too hard of a plan too fast. They won't, they have created an unrealistic preparation plan. Right. But routine is usually the one that actually hurts people. And then follow through. The thing about that is that's the mental one. That is the one that you have to make the decision. Like you made the decision because your kids challenged you, right? Yeah. Or you decided one day, you're like, this is my life now. Not how I was before, but now this is how I'm going to move forward. So that's the follow through process. So to me, those 3, if you're failing in life or at a goal or work or with your spouse or family, whatever.
What's the called again?
Routine. So
routine,
preparation, routine, follow through.
Right.
And so those 3 pillars, like if you're not where you want to be, take a look at those 3. I bet you there's a breakdown in one of them.
Well, and you really, to your point, the routine, we can all prepare mentally. Hey, I want to do this. This is what I want to be great. I want to go back to school. Hey, guess what? There's going to be a grind. It's going to be work. It's going to be a challenge. It's like you said, it's going to be hard. That's why you make it what? Tiny. Make it small. Make it achievable. Make it something you can go. And then don't do this. This is what people do. They make it tiny. They make it small. And they go, oh, that's fantastic. Oh, yeah, but it was only this. What? Wait. Was it a step forward or a step backwards? Or was it just static? I'm not going anywhere. What was it? What was it? It was a step forward. Then you should applaud yourself. I applaud you because most people don't make a step forward. Most people are unwilling to because they're afraid of what's going to happen next. When I was in therapy, because, my wife, when my dad died, I started really losing with my temper again to hurt myself. I mean, I literally broke my orbital socket with my own hand. It's been 22 years since I've done that, but I went into therapy and she said to me unequivocally that if I didn't get help, she was going to be gone. And she said it in a way that I knew she would be gone. And so long story short, I found a therapist, a psychiatrist, and I was, kind of terrified. And through that process, he was a good one too. He wouldn't let me get around on him.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you ever been in therapy?
Oh, yeah.
He was so good that he owned my ass. All right. He owned me, but he helped fix me and he helped me realize a lot of things. And that's why, I'm here now. That was, that's even pre all this. So maybe that was the starting point. There's so many starting points.
Yeah.
There's so many jump off points to getting to where you want in your life or getting your life back. Right. Why are we so afraid to have our best life?
Yeah. Well, I think that's also what's cool about jump off points is that like you can find a root cause. So for everything good that you have in your life, you can go back and root cause and be like, how did I get there? How did that? And most of those times are very unpredictable. Right. Like they're just, like you said, you kind of willed it into the world and it just happens. Like it's really unique. Yeah. Sometimes you work really hard and very specifically, like you kind of puzzle piece things together. Those are a lot more rare. But the same thing happens for bad things in your life. If you really think about some traumatic situations in your life, you could root cause those too. Yeah. And if you know the root cause of it, you can literally look at it and go, okay, this thing is holding me back in my life. And the root cause of it is something that, again, is very rare. Is that going to actually happen to me ever again? Right. Probably not. You can only lose your dad once.
That's it.
It's very traumatic, very tough. But
Sucks.
it can only happen once. Now,
Yeah.
can you lose another family member?
Yes.
Absolutely. And can it be just as traumatic? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But the root cause that caused you to go through that process and cut and that it's never going to happen again.
Right.
And so it allows maybe you a little bit of acceptance
Right.
to then be able to move forward in your life. Yeah.
You're smart. You had the water here.
He was setting it up. Well, yeah, we got like cotton mouth just sitting there.
No, throat gets dry. Talk.
Yeah.
I can talk a lot too.
So, okay. So how does it work when someone works with you as a life coach? Like, what does that process really look like?
People are kind of screwed when you get me as a life coach because I'm not a normal life coach. And what I mean by that is I know a lot of coaches out there, you guys set a standard of you get me twice a week, you get me 20 texts, you get me 12 emails, and
Yeah.
we're going to do this. Well, you get with me, you're kind of stuck with me because I'm not in it for you to fail. I'm in it for you to succeed. So we're going to talk every day. And I know that sounds insane, but 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, or it turns into an hour, I don't care because if I'm helping you get to where you need to go to save your life, to make your quality of life better, to get you what you want, then what's more important than that?
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, it's not about the money for me right now. So if you need help, reach out. I don't care. I mean, I couldn't be more clear than that, right?
Yeah. I don't think so.
Just so you're kind of stuck with me, and I won't get to know who you are and help you to understand how to get where you want to go if I don't talk to you once a day. I just can't.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking once a week, and what's gonna happen is I'm gonna call you once a week, and I'm gonna get this. Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Everything's great. And da 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 da.
Yeah.
Right? Because once a week, you're gonna put your face on, you're gonna put your mask on, you're gonna tell me how great it is, and I'm not gonna get to see the issues and the foibles of your life. Because really, your weight loss is dependent on helping you fix and understand why you got there.
Yeah.
Because you didn't just get to be 400 pounds or 300 pounds because you were hungry, right? We do it as a coping mechanism. So my job as a life coach, whether it's relationships, weight loss, exercise, alcohol. I work with alcoholics. I've never been drunk, right?
Yeah.
How do we fix these behaviors and change the behaviors to become better? That's why I'm back in school working on my bachelor's in psychology and hopefully my master's, and I'll be really old when I get my PhD. But I want to understand the science behind the psychology to help you get what you want, to get what they need. And, you know, we've talked how many times?
Okay.
At the end of the day, I don't have an axe to grind. I just want to help people. I want to see them have a better life. And that fills me up.
Yep.
You know, I get filled up by that.
Well, and I experienced that 100%. So I kind of ended, right, how we got introduced. Now I want to kind of bring people back up to speed to like where we're at. So we met, you told me about the documentary,
Yep.
The Fat, Sick, and Nearly
Yep.
Dead. And very similar to how you reacted to the documentary and the guy in the documentary, like, oh, if this fucking guy did it, I could do it. I did the same thing with you, where I was like, well, if this fucking guy lost 80 pounds, you know, in 60 days or, you know, whatever it is, like I should be able to do that. And I did the exact same thing. I put the documentary up on the TV. I ate I remember I was eating hot Fritos and I was like, just watching the thing. I'm just like,
awesome.
And then watching him juice. And then, you know, to be honest, and I know you know Joe Cross now personally, and you guys have done, and you know Mel Robbins personally, and you guys have
good people.
You've been in her book. You've been on live videos with Joe Cross. But, you know, I literally looked at like Joe and I was like, wow, he's inspiring. He is a business person. He did this while traveling and he juiced out of his trunk for 60 days. He pretty much put like all the hardest things that you can do, like all the excuses kind of like out there. And I was like, well, shoot, I'm driving to LA every day. I could juice, have them in my car, have them in my trunk, and I could do that. You did it. And you know, you're at that time, cause this was what, 2000. So like, yeah. So I was like, well, you know, I'm 26. I was like, I should be able to do this and have a good result as well. Right. Like, like genetically, like I'm doing that earlier in my life. So I should have a good result as well. So I kind of was just like, gosh, I just need to do all this. But then what really hit it home for me was the second half of the video. So if you guys watch the documentary, Joe Cross loses, I think it's like 80 pounds.
83 pounds.
Yeah. 83 pounds. And
I
then
lost 81.
and he beat you. And then he ends up meeting during that process. He meets a truck driver, and that truck driver ends up doing the as well and loses over 100 pounds.
Mhm.
And that was where it hit a little bit more home for me because I was 400 plus pounds, and
Right.
being 26 and being 400 plus pounds,
Right.
and I'm 6'5", I mean,
Yeah.
I wore it maybe a little bit better than most because I wasn't like, I'm not as short, but definitely I wore it in all the wrong areas. And to your
Yeah.
point, you try to hide, you wear oversized clothes, you try to do all these things to hide
Mhm.
it. And there's no hiding a
Should
size
have
like
brought my
that.
pants today, my old pants.
That would have
I
actually
didn't
been
think
really
about
cool. That would have been really
Darn.
cool. But I ended up going through that process, losing the weight. And I remember just telling you constantly about it. And then we started following each other on social media.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, guys. So when Charlie says he's a life coach and he's not in it for money, this is the truth. I remember probably like a month and a half in or 2 months in, and I lost at that point 45 pounds,
Yep.
50 pounds. You can notice
You
the
were looking good.
difference.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with the man in the mirror still, but you would just keep encouraging me. And then it went from like, you're encouraging me to like, you're like, hey man, like you could see emotionally I wasn't happy with myself. And you're like, hey man, I love you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, dude? At first. And then eventually, like, I was like, damn, this dude really loves me. He cares about me. He really wants me to just do better with and then you became a very much a life coach for me. And we just kind of started feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's the unique thing about somebody like you who does it selflessly, where you're providing a service to people, you're just being there as a friend, and then you start feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
And that energy transfers back and forth. I taught you once I started really getting into it, then I got into fitness and strength training, and then me and you started feeding off of each other. It's like, hey, check this out. Look what I learned.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, but I say all of that to go back to the process of being a life coach really does mean like you're kind of invested for life.
Well, yeah.
Even if someone does pay you for your services, which I know people, do that,
You have
right?
clients that pay me. Absolutely.
And rightfully so, because you changed their lives. I think what's really unique about it is that you're still invested, even if they weren't anymore.
Well, even if they're not a client anymore, I still call and check in on them. I was talking to Kevin in Atlanta. Kevin's amazing. He's lost, I think, 100 pounds. He's juicing. He's eating healthy. He's doing everything he needs to do. He's showing up. And in his relationship, he was in a relationship. The relationship, it was kind of an abusive relationship where the woman was abusing him emotionally. And I pointed it out because I don't care. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to play any games. And I pointed out these are forms of abuse, And he ended the relationship, and he was heartbroken, and he thought, I'm not going to get anywhere. And this is the end of it. And guess what? He found somebody that loved him and treats him with respect and dignity and emotionally supports him. And now his life is better. Right?
Isn't that something?
Yeah, because you can't see it. Sometimes you're here. You can't see. The blinders got to come off so
Yep.
you can see.
Yeah.
And that's a reality, right? I mean, Susan in Washington helped her with weight loss. She was in a horrible relationship with this man who was just not physically abusive, but again, emotionally abusive. And it just went on. And I kept saying, listen, and she'd try to break it, right? Because when you're trying to change a pattern, it's not going to necessarily break the first time. You're going to digress back to the old pattern because that's been a behavior for how many years, right?
Yeah.
It goes back sometimes to when we were children. And said, you got to break away from this guy, And finally she did. And she said, so how long is it going to take? I go, from what I understand, for what I've been through, the magic number to really, really institute change is about 180 days, 6 months. So it's 6 months, but what's 6 months in 40 years or 50 years or 30 years even? What is 6 months? Really?
Yeah.
I juiced for 300 straight days. What is 300 days when I was 49? What is that? It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's minuscule. Yeah, it's nothing.
Spec.
So get ready to get on board, but get ready to get on board for the next 300 days or so.
Yeah.
180 days. And guess what happens at 180 days for Susan? Guess what happened?
She was good.
She lost weight. She meets somebody,
Mm.
or Scott. Scott's treating her with respect, dignity, love. She's kind of uncomfortable with that. Why?
Yeah, she's used to the abuse.
Abuse, right? Emotional abuse. Guess what? They're married. They've been married for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Happily married, good relationship. Come on.
Yeah.
Just small, intricate steps.
It's funny how a lot of us, and I'm speaking from personal experience. I've seen it with friends and family and everything. We all kind of like a little bit of the abuse from ourselves or people around us. Like it's almost like we we start to put up, we almost think it's normal to have periods of time where you're just not happy or you're just content, right?
Can I raise my hand?
Oh, yeah.
We don't think it's normal. It becomes normal,
Yeah.
right? Being in school and taking all these psychology classes, women that are abused that go back to their husbands to get more abuse physically or emotionally, that's normal for them. That's why they go back to it. Why? Because it's a pattern, because it's a behavior. Behaviors, that we're animals. We are freaking animals. So we get used to behaviors, whether they're abusive or non-abusive, we'll stick with that. Smokers. I remember my dad, and I had this conversation with Tina this morning about her daughter's dying from alcoholism. And I said, it's just a pattern. Oh, but I wish she would have done better. I'm upset with her. No, listen, don't get upset. It's just a pattern. Do you know anybody that's ever smoked, like a chronic smoker, 5-pack a day guy? Did you ever know anybody?
No.
Okay.
Luckily.
Did you know anybody? Okay, were you a 5-pack a day guy? So when you woke up in the morning, what was one of the first things you did? Right. Why? Because you wanted it or because that was just your normal pattern?
It's just a pattern.
Just a pattern. This is what you do every morning. 8 o'clock, get the cigarette out. Smoke a cigarette.
We got the behind that. We're going to have to get a third camera, fourth camera.
We know. We need you to be part of this.
That's awesome.
No, but at the end of the day, that's it. We if we could change the behaviors, then we get our lives the way we want them.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to go, oh, I guess I got to go put up with this crap today. No, you don't. You don't have to put up with anything today. Yeah. You can change it literally instantaneously and just change
like
your life.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah.
And you're looking at me and Joe, and we're saying, well, look at him. He's just looking like Reacher. He's looking like an old man. And at the end of the day, we didn't look like this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't feel like this 10 years ago. We weren't online like this 10 years ago.
Charlie, that is the third pillar, that follow through. That's what I mean when I say follow through. You have to make the decision. You make the decision and you stick to it. You created a plan. You said, in a perfect world, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. This is the plan.
Right.
How am I going to get there? Here's all the processes I have to do every single day to make sure that that happens. Every single day, these are the things that I need to do. Even if they're little baby-sized things, I need to do these every single day. And then you just have to decide that no matter what fucking happens, no matter what, you're going to do it.
No matter what. No matter what. He said, no matter what.
It is the craziest thing when you do that and you make the decision. Nothing can come in its way. Nothing.
But it's normal, and you know this. And I want you to expound on this too. I've run 5 marathons. First one in 84, 86, 87, 91, and 95. 26.2 miles. Do you think in every single one of those marathons I had the moment where my brain said, let's quit?
Oh, yeah.
Every time. When I was doing those planks last year, don't you think I wanted to quit? Yeah, after the first 10, I wanted to quit. After the first 30, I wanted to quit. After the first 80, I wanted to quit. It wasn't until the last 10 I was like kind of laughing going, I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I wanted to quit. You've experienced that. This guy's a beast in the gym. What's your press right now?
Right now it's like 460.
Just 460. You ever feel like mentally your brain says, I can't do this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so what do you do when that happens?
Yeah, I get encouraged and I do it.
Yeah, you say, I got to go.
Yeah.
I get this time to show up.
Got to figure out.
Yeah.
Happened to me today, actually. Normally, Fridays are like the day I do deads, and I like my minimum that I need to hit every Friday is 500 for 5. That's
right.
Because it's a big number, it's a heavy weight,
right.
and it's a lot of volume. And so, I traveled this week and just wasn't feeling right today, I guess. Right. And I, leading up to it, everything was good. Boom, 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 boom. But I know that that's my minimum acceptance. If I don't hit that, I'm not happy with myself.
Right.
And I went for the set and I did it twice and I put it down and I was like, what? No, I'm not okay with this. Not going to happen. Am I going to take the weights off? No, I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to get the job done because for whatever reason, that has become my minimum. Now, at some point, I'm going to be like 80 years old and it's going to be unrealistic, right? For me to be lifting 500 for 5.
No, but whatever you're doing will be realistic at that time.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So I know realistically in my head, I can do that. So I'm going to do it. So I did my first set. It didn't turn out the way I wanted. And I said, well, too bad. I guess I have to do it. So then I did it. Right. And it's just one of those things. Like, again, you follow through. You just make the decision.
15 years ago, it would have been different than it is
I would have made
today.
an excuse. I would have said, maybe,
Right.
maybe I didn't sleep enough last night.
Right.
Maybe it was the travel. Maybe I didn't eat right. Oh, my lower back, is just a little tight. I would have made excuses
Yeah.
and I would have accepted them as reality.
Right.
And then I would have taken weight off. But I knew that's not what it was. What it
Right.
was I was just mentally, when I went to go lift the first set, mentally, I was just not invested. But the second set, I was invested because I said, I know you can do this
Right.
and you're going to do this.
Right.
Now you have to do it.
Well,
Then
the only difference between Joe and I and you guys that are watching is we don't give ourselves that little area to go, well, tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't do that
Yeah.
crap because I've worked out 3,589 days in a row. There is no wiggle room for me. Working out is happening. It already happened. I think I did 500 reps of chest, 500 reps of back, 250 reps of shoulders, 200 reps of bi, and 200 reps of tri today.
Yep, volume.
Yeah, I do a lot of volume. So I do, my leg workouts are like 800,000 to 1,000,000 pounds or whatever it ends
Yeah.
up being or something.
Remember we created that program like where it's about total weight, not necessarily.
Yeah, total weight.
Yeah.
Because you lifted 10-pound dumbbell 10 times. How much did you lift?
Yeah.
100 pounds. It's simple math. The muscle is exhausted 100 pounds. So that's what happens.
Yep.
Am I right?
It is.
Yeah. So, but see, to his point, show up and don't. If it's your kid, I know when you're talking to your kids, you better do your freaking homework. If you don't do your homework, you're going to hell, right?
Yeah.
The dog, you sit there and you don't get a biscuit till you eat it. You hold everybody accountable. When are you going to hold yourself accountable? And guess what happens when you hold yourself accountable? All the people around you start to hold themselves accountable automatically.
Yeah.
Because they see that. You're not giving, you're saying something, you're not giving the example.
Yeah.
You're saying you're a hypocrite. I'm sorry. But that's hypocritical.
Yeah.
Right?
What's funny is I've said this a couple of times. The only person you can't lie to is yourself. But the funny part is you're the person you try to lie to the most.
Oh, yeah.
Like we literally try to lie to ourselves the most. We know the answer. Like we're thinking both sides of it. You already know the answer. So you're trying to convince yourself for whatever reason there is that little devil on the shoulder that tries to convince you not to do something.
It's always there
for
too.
Whatever reason.
Every day.
Yeah. Everyone has it, and there's a couple books on it. It's like fighting the gremlin, or discovering the gremlin.
My son says I have a demon in my head.
It's true though, because it's crazy, but
Charlie?
Everybody has that. Everybody. But people think it's weird to talk about that. But the reality is we all have that self-doubt.
Oh.
And you just have to, you can't lie to yourself. Like, did you do it because you couldn't do it? Did you do it because you didn't want to? Did you not do it? Like, what was the reality is you just decided you weren't going to.
Right.
So if you change that paradigm, you'll go like, well, I don't want to, but I'm going to,
right.
then it changes and you actually get it done.
Well, it's funny because on Core Sunday, I get up in the morning. I usually get up at 4:30 or 5 every day and shower, get some bright light. You know about that, right?
Yep.
It gets rid of the gremlin, or I don't remember what the drug in our body is, but it'll make you stay awake longer. Don't drink caffeine out of the gate. That's not good for you. You should get awake first, direct sunlight, stuff like that.
Here I am doing like 700 milligrams of caffeine. Yeah.
Reality is on Core Sunday, not for some reason, my subconscious engages me to forget until about 7 o'clock in the morning that it's Core Sunday. Because an hour of core is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I start with 30 planks, 35 seconds each, no big deal, but still 35 seconds, 30 planks, it's work.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go to the twist, then you go to what do they call the figure eights? I call them figure eights.
Yeah, I call them figure eights.
Figure eights, and just grind through. Well, my brain is trying to figure out how to get out of that from the moment I get up, because it doesn't even let me remember it until 7 o'clock, and then I go, oh, it's Core Sunday. And then the conversation starts. Do we have to really do an hour?
Yeah.
There's a literal voice in my head saying, do we really have to do an hour? And then it tries to negotiate with me. Can we just do 20 minutes today? Can we cut it down a little bit?
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, no, literally, this is the thing. A really good way to exemplify that is with my sit-ups. When I do my sit-up work, I do about 3,000 sit-ups. So I usually do 500 military sit-ups, and then I go to core crunch stuff to engage the abs, lower, upper, whatever. And no, I don't have a six-pack. My genetics don't like me. So at the end of the day, when I get down on the ground to start the 500 military sit-ups, I don't count them from one. I do 4 sets, 125 each. I don't count from 1 to 125 because the brain doesn't like that crap. It doesn't want to count from 1 to 125. It's too much. So I count my sets in sets of 20 as I'm doing the 125, 20, 40, 60, 80, 125, done with that first set, right? If I'm doing 500 in a row, I still count them the same way. I count them in sets of 20 till I get to 500. Guess how long it takes me to do 500 military sit-ups?
I don't know.
8 minutes. 8 minutes. It's nothing.
Yeah.
But you're not going to do that out of the gate, right?
No.
You got to do 10 sit-ups. Do 3 sit-ups. Do 1 sit-up today.
Yeah. Like right now, Mateo's in boxing, so we just started doing programming for him. So we're starting to like figure out like what his body's capable of, and like, and that is the funniest thing is like, literally 3 months ago, like you put him in give him a jump rope, and he would like do 1, and then like stumble, do 2, and then stumble, and then 3, and then now it's got to the point where like you just jump rope 6 minutes in a row. It's just, it's funny. You know what I mean? And we're talking about a couple months now. Does he stumble sometimes in there? Yeah, of course. Like it is what it is. But I didn't realize how good he was becoming at that until like we started working out together at night. And this was probably like 2 months in. So now he's like 3 months in.
How tall is he now?
He's like 5'9"
already, huh?
And he's like 200 pounds. He's gonna be a big boy.
Big boy.
Big kid. But he's losing weight because he's naturally growing, and he's also doing a lot more cardio because of boxing. But what's crazy is, so 2 months in, so month 1 or week 1, I was just watching him jump rope. I was like, geez, like this is gonna take him a little while to get used to this. Then a month in, I was like, okay, he's getting more consistent. Then 2 months in, we started working out past just his boxing. And the funniest thing was, I was like, what do you want to start with? He's like, I want to start with jump rope. I was like, all right, why don't we do 3 minutes? Like we'll do 3 sets of 3. Now he does his first 3 minutes. He's been used to, for the last 2 months, doing 6 minutes in a row. So he does his first 3 and he's done. And now I do cardio all the time.
Right.
I go,
you do.
I don't jump rope. I go to do jump rope. Now I've jumped roped usually for a minute at a time.
Right.
So I get through my first minute, no problem. That minute 30 hits, the halfway mark, I'm like, oh, I messed up. I challenged my son to something he's good at, and now here I am. I've got
your ass kicked.
So I get to the 3 minutes, and I'm like sweating, and I hand it off to him, and he just goes through and he does his second set. I go to do my second set, and I'm looking to make excuses and compromise to myself. I was like, maybe we should just do 2 sets because I'm up for my second set. So I'm like, I could just quit after this.
Yeah.
Nope. He didn't let me. I didn't let myself either, but it was just, it's hilarious.
It's there.
It's hilarious how we try to compromise with ourselves when we're uncomfortable or we're embarrassed or somebody in the room is better than us.
Right.
And in this situation, so happened to be my son, which is great from a learning perspective. But yeah, to your point, like I think people just, they got to be consistent with it, and they've got to have fun with it, and you've got to start small and get used to it.
It's great that you're talking about your son because they point out our inadequacies because they're young. They see things from a clear, clean perspective.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you don't see it as clear sometimes unless you check yourself, unless you push yourself. So I say, catch yourself being a dummy. And I was being a dummy 9 months ago. I told you about this. Anthony is going crazy. He's going crazy with core, weights. I mean, I got to listen to him all the time. What's with this 900 rep crap? Just do 3 reps really slow. And I've kind of adopted, like I don't do curls. I was doing curls like this, bringing them down to the sides.
There you go, inside.
I'm holding them like this now, and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And it's better. It's just better. And so he says to me, oh man, you do all this crap. You do 3,000 sit-ups. You work out every single day. And you don't stretch. This is me catching myself being a dummy. And I literally said this, and when I said it, I heard myself how ignorant I sounded. I said, stretching is stupid. And I was like, wow, that was stupid.
Yeah.
And then I tried to do some things. I tried to take my hands
and pull it
behind my back.
I'm definitely not doing that on camera or attempting to do that.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Almost there. There we go.
Hey.
There we go. So I couldn't do this, not even close, 9 months ago. So I started stretching 9 months ago. Full flexibility is all the way back. I can fold back on my knees now. I mean, I'm going to be 60. I mean, even my hands, I'm constantly stretching everything. And it gives you even more than what you thought you had.
Doesn't it feel good to know that like
Oh,
here this year you're gonna be 60
yes.
and you can look around. If you had another room and we just grabbed a bunch of 60-year-old men off the streets,
Mm.
isn't it nice to kind of know like you're in that top tier, like mobility,
Let's grab
working
some
out,
40-year-olds or 20-year-olds.
yeah,
I'll bury them too.
yeah.
No, but I mean, but why not? It's all here.
No,
And it's
I
what you've
agree.
said and I've said. We decide what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I could say, I'm gonna be 60, I gotta be 80 in 20 more years, I'll be dead. Or I could say, I'm gonna kick ass and bury it
yep,
every day.
yep,
Show up every day.
yep. No, I love that. I mean, there's very few guys like that, regardless of like age, that just have that mentality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it is a special gift. And I talked about this on the last podcast. I'm like, whatever the skill is that somebody has, you can learn it. Most people get very uncomfortable wanting to ask those questions. So like, you learned how to lose weight, and then how to craft your body, and then mentality, and
Yeah.
like you've learned all this stuff, but you're like a lifelong learner. You're consistently learning these things. You just learned how to stretch
Or
over
you're
9
dead.
months.
Or
So
you're dead.
I think it just comes down to the fact that like there's no excuse for whether you're obese, not obese, whether you're old, young, whether you're physical, not physical, whether you know a skill or don't know a skill. What it comes down to is, are you gonna make an excuse, or are you just gonna fucking do it? Like, what are you gonna do?
Well, you know Mike at the gym,
Yep.
one leg Mike.
Yeah.
Guys, he's on the balance board with dumbbells doing squats with one leg.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got nothing. Shut up. Just show up.
Yeah.
Why are we making excuses?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, there's Bob, who goes in. He's 95 or 96 years old, and I kid you not, if you looked at this man, you would automatically think he is probably like 70, but he's 95, and he's in there. And what's funny is he still works for the same company that he's worked for
Right.
like 60 something years.
Right.
And he's in there every morning, 5 a.m. He's a 5 a.m.er. He's in there every morning,
Right.
walking on the treadmill, goes around, does a couple workouts, goes in the sauna, comes back out. He doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And then his
stop.
whole day is better than the other guy that's 95 that's laying in a bed, drowning in his own freaking fluid.
Yeah.
How do you want to end? How do you want to be every day?
Yeah.
Everybody says, how come you're so positive? Okay, hold on. Hey, I hate life. I'm miserable. I wish my life was over. What the hell's that?
Yeah.
There's too much to live for.
Now, before we get to because we are getting kind of close on, just letting you know, like I like to make sure these are about 90 minutes at the max. But you did, when we started, you told me that you switched to vegan, right? Or you're primarily vegan?
I am a vegan.
Okay, you're vegan. And then we started
100%.
talking about one of the interesting things about how the food industry has tried to change even vegan to make it complicated for you to actually lose weight or be healthy. So let's talk about that.
Okay. And listen, this has been my 9th year of juicing, my 10th year of working out in a row. And this is the first year I struggled a little bit more than normal with food because they've introduced so much garbage that's vegan. Did you know Oreo cookies are vegan?
I'm turning vegan.
And listen, I didn't become a vegan because I said when I set out in my juicing adventure that I was going to become a vegan. That was the furthest thing from my mind. You never met a meat eater like me. I'm on the barbecue. There's 4 fillets. I'm eating half of or a whole fillet while it's on the barbecue, blood red. Okay, so I was a big meat eater, and people will say, "Well, don't you miss it? You're just punishing yourself by not eating." No, I don't miss it because that's my old life. This is my new life, right? So it was an automatic transition to vegan without knowing it was going to happen. And the key thing that happened, because I was still on the fence after juicing, I juiced from January 15th, 2015 to November, I think 10th, 2015, and that was 300 days. So the 11th of November, I was going to run right into what? Thanksgiving, Christmas, everything. So I thought, hey, this will be a big challenge because if I've really changed, I'll be able to weather through the holidays and be okay. With my wife's cookies, I won't eat those. With her truffles, I won't eat those. Sorry, honey, I used to love them, and I know it makes you sad sometimes, but the reality is they weren't vegan. So it was something that happened by itself. And what kept me as a vegan was in April, I was eating some hard-boiled eggs over a week period. And I noticed one morning when I got up that I didn't feel as sharp as I normally do. Have you ever had that
Yeah.
experience? All right. So I just didn't feel as sharp. And I was like, what could it be? Well, when you're very limited in what you eat, you can point to things very easily and say, well, it's probably this, right? It's like an allergy test. What do they, when you have an allergy, they got to test everything, right? What do you eat? And you eat an array of things, it's going to be harder. Well, the only thing that was different in my diet were these hard boiled eggs, and I wasn't feeling right. And I was like, well, if I'm not feeling good, let's stop the eggs and see what happens. And I felt better, right? It wasn't a placebo because I wasn't thinking about it when it happened. When I stopped the eggs, a week later, I felt way better. And I was like, oh, my brain caught that and said, hey, you
This is
feel
what's
better.
going on. Yeah.
So why am I eating eggs then? Eliminate that crap permanently. And I did. So that was becoming a vegan, had nothing to do with politics or animals, although I don't want to see animals be abused. It was because it was just a natural flow of what was happening to me.
Progression. Yeah.
So now here we are in 2024, just past 2023. They got all kinds of cool stuff that's vegan. They got vegan ice cream now. They got vegan cookies. Mr. Beast, giving him a plug because he's a decent guy. They got all kinds of stuff. So you could very easily not take care of your body today as a vegan if you don't want to.
Yeah. You could basically,
You got to be aware.
you could basically go right back into a somewhat of a obesity just by reading
Yes.
the label. It says this is vegan. So
Yep.
I think this is like a good closer to some degree for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So ultimately, you have spent the last 10 plus years really learning about food and mental strength. And now you do that as like, you provide that to other people, right?
Yes.
As a life coach.
Absolutely.
And so I think what other people need to do, if they want to have like a takeaway from this, is like, that's kind of what everyone has to do. You have to learn and educate yourself on whatever you're trying to achieve,
Right.
And so, yeah, it's very easy for somebody to come off this and be like, I'm going to do vegetable juicing. Well, that might have worked for us, but I know there were complications during periods of time. Like there was a day that like I almost blacked out just juicing because I wasn't drinking enough water and my sugar levels were low. And so like everybody who's maybe watching this, like that is something that you're going to have to understand.
And listen, that's not what I advocate. I don't advocate juicing. You want to do juicing, you want to eat healthy, you want to do paleo, you want to do keto. Well, let's do keto right. Let's not do keto like a jackass, right?
Yeah.
And eat 17 pounds of bacon a day. Hello.
Correct.
That's probably going to cause a problem for my heart. At the end of the day, it's whatever works for you. I just saw something last week. I can't remember where it was, but they were talking about how certain foods act different in certain bodies.
Yeah.
But our biology is all the same. No, it is, but it isn't. Our bodies are sensitive and they work differently. All of us are like a fingerprint. We're different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some basic crap that's the same, but if I know one guy who was drinking juice and his stomach would bloat up and he was just dying. He had like a basketball in his stomach and it just didn't work for him. So he went with a healthy, vegetable-based, 5% meat diet and he lost, 80, 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Everybody is different. And if you know any, and I just want to make sure this is clear. I'm not against meat. I'm against meat in big proportions because that's what causes the cancer. That's what causes the heart disease. If you've seen Forks Over Knives or read the China study, it says anything above 5% of your daily allowance that's meat is not good for you.
Yeah.
Just use common sense.
Well, I think programming and dieting and doing all those things, like it is a study and you have to kind of find what works for you.
Right.
Interestingly enough, so I might have started my weight loss journey with juicing, but I went away from it for a very long time and I got more into like a bodybuilder kind of diet, like a paleo style diet.
Right.
But that paleo diet was mainly meats, vegetables, grains, and certain grains you weren't allowed to have or I'm not allowed to have because of the paleo diet. Well, this last year, I went through like this phase where I was like, how am I going to lose this weight? Like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to do all this? And I tried something I had never tried before. And it was kind of the blend of the two, which was I ended up doing only for 3 weeks. I only ate meats, right? Any kind like chicken, steak, shrimp, like that, just basic.
Got it.
And then I'd have 2 big 16-ounce vegetable juices or fruit juices,
Right.
right? Like carrots and apples, or like the detoxifier that you mentioned earlier, big
Yes.
green one. And that worked for me.
Yeah.
And it worked for me. Now, if somebody else was to try that, they might be like, oh my God, like this is not enough food for me.
Mhm.
Or maybe these juices are gross or might upset their stomach, but it really worked for me. And now I'm like, this is probably going to be my cut diet.
Right.
Like this is going to be for whenever I do want to lose weight or gain more muscle. It did both for me. I gained muscle,
Right.
5 pounds of muscle in 2.5 months, like doing that program, 3 weeks on,
Right.
3 weeks off. And then I lost a bunch of body fat.
Well, it's a plug and play.
Yeah.
There's no specific thing that works. I mean, juicing, I tripped into it. I fell into it by accident. It's what you make of it, and then you figure out this has worked for me. No, okay, well then let's try this.
Yeah.
It's like I don't lift like Joe or my sons. They're lifting hardcore power, right? How many reps do you do in a set mostly?
6 to 8 is like primarily if they're stress sets.
Right. So I'll get on a bench with two 50-pound dumbbells, and I'll do 100 reps in a row.
Yeah.
And then I'll do my whole total chest workout will be almost 500 reps. You don't do 500 reps in a bench workout ever, right?
Nope.
Right. His workout's different than my workout, but this is what works for my body and makes me feel great, and I'm strong. That's what works for his body. That's what makes him feel great, and he's strong. We're all different is my point.
Yeah.
We're all different. So that's what I figure out when I'm talking to somebody, what works, what doesn't work, right? You know, and don't be afraid to be embarrassed or scared to try something different, because it's going to be uncomfortable and you're going to feel that embarrassment. But that's actually a good feeling.
Yeah.
You remember the first time you ever got in a fight?
Oh yeah.
Remember how your hands started shaking? Right? And
That adrenaline.
well, yeah, but the first time you
Nerves.
feel that, you think you're scared.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think they're scared. That's your body preparing for the battle.
Yeah.
That's not a bad feeling then. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's getting you ready.
Yeah. I think that uneasy feeling can come in many different forms. And I think, you just have to explore it.
You did it to me with figure eights.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the
Made me
exact same thing.
completely uncomfortable. I was so embarrassed that day.
Well, look at us though.
Yeah, I know.
Both
Show
moving
up.
through. That's how it works. All right. Well, Charlie, let's wrap this up. Where can people find you again if they want to reach out for life coaching, talk to you about, juicing or vegan, just any of that?
You can call me at 951-433-0040 if you want. Instagram is Juicing Strong. Facebook is Juicing Strong. TikTok is Juicing Strong.
You are going to get robo called the heck out of.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
Coach Bruno at juicingstrong.com. I'm sorry, Coach Bruno at gmail.com. If you need help, just reach out. I'll give you some pointers. I'll put you in a direction. It doesn't have to cost money. I'm not saying that to bait you or get you to call me. Don't call me if you don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Promise you, because you're not going to want to hear the truth. Don't call me. It's a waste of your time. And remember, live your best life. And the secret to life is love, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, and again, just to kind of close up, Charlie is a personal friend of mine, but he did help me a lot transform in many different ways. I consider you a friend, a father figure.
I love you, dude.
And I love you too, brother. That's it.
You're the man.
All right. Let's knock that over. Get out of here. All right.